G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people. Fun little scrap this was. This was just entertaining. Lucas Browne versus Jarrel Miller. Now, Jarrel Miller stops Lucas Browne in the 6th round. And the thing is, right, this fight was happening, I think, in Dubai. I would imagine there was probably next to no testing for this fight, I would imagine. The arena was absolutely dead. It was half empty. It was just, this fight was everything I expected it to be, in a sense of it was just going to be car crash TV. And sometimes that's okay. Both guys came out in the first round. Oh yeah, and I must point out as well, I believe Miller was about in the 330s, weight-wise. Browne was in, I think, the high 270s. So a good bit of weight on display in this fight. I mean, if both guys fell down on the ground, they might want to make sure that ring was reinforced to take that weight, because there was a lot of weight in there. Both guys came out very slow. What I mean by that is that I didn't expect them to be as slow as they were. They were as slow as molasses in there. They were about as graceful as an elephant. And the first round, it was weird. You had Browne probably nicked the first round, to be honest with you, just outworked Miller. Miller was just getting behind his jab, was trying to find ways in. But Miller, Lucas Browne, is not fast by no stretch. Even in his prime, he wasn't the fastest heavyweight. But now, I mean, Jesus, he is slow. And Miller was having a bit of trouble getting his jab working in that first round. As I said, I thought Browne just edged the first round. And then the second round is kind of when things started to get entertaining and get fun. That's where both guys were kind of like, ain't no point boxing, let's just go and start trading. And that's pretty much what they did the rest of the fight. I was surprised with how many shots Lucas Browne was able to find Miller with. Now, I know Miller's never had the tightest defense. He's never been the hardest guy to find. But Lucas Browne was getting through with some good right hands and good uppercuts. And for all of Lucas Browne's faults, and there's a lot of them, punching power is still something he has. Ask Junior Fa about that. Went 12 rounds with Joseph Parker, never even looked remotely stunned once in that fight. Knocked out in the first round by Lucas Browne, gets caught with a shot, doesn't recover. He still has pop there. And I felt at times Miller wasn't hurt per se, but I definitely felt that his legs stiffened a couple of times from some of the shots Browne was getting off. Saying that, Browne is someone who's never shown particularly good whiskers throughout his career. He's been down numerous times in his career, even when he was a lot fresher. When he was undefeated, he was down numerous times. He's been hurt by guys who are not noted punchers, guys like Shagayev. I think he was down earlier on in his career a couple of times as well. I think he was anyway. So he's never shown the sturdiest chin as Lucas Browne. But Miller couldn't really put a dent in him up until the round where he eventually was able to get him out of there. Lucas Browne was taking the shots okay. Both guys were swinging wildly. I mean, a counterpuncher with a bit of speed would have had a field day with either guy in there, because they were both swinging for defense. They were both missing. When they were missing, they were going horribly off balance. It was crazy watching it. With Lucas Browne, he's in his mid-40s now. I think he's 43, 44. So you would imagine his technique, everything about him is not going to be as good as it was a decade ago. But I think Miller is still I don't even think he's in his mid-30s yet. If he is, he's not that far into it. So you wouldn't imagine Miller would look as bad as he did in this fight. Maybe Big Farmer is actually fighting clean. Who knows? He certainly was able to keep the work rate up. But he definitely felt the pace of the fight, which is something obviously pre-ban Miller, for obvious reasons, never really seemed to be bothered by. Like, he could go into a fight like he did against, I think was it Johan Duapas, go 12 rounds, Trevor put the kitchen sink at the guy, and then still be, fighting fit at the end. He seemed to feel the pace a lot more in this fight. Now, I know in that fight, I think he was in the 280s. So obviously 50 pounds heavier is going to make a big difference. It just was more of the same. It was just, we were watching, you were just like, what? One of these guys going to go. One of them's going to go. The thing about Miller is just his strength is still there. You can't get away with that. His strength is still there. It's like hitting a brick wall. And I think that doesn't just fatigue you physically because you're throwing so many punches at this big guy, because he's not hard to hit and he's not moving. He's coming forward and then he's hitting with you with shots, and you're trying to keep this huge guy off you. Physically and mentally, that's got to be taxing. Because when you're thinking, right, I'm throwing my best shot at this guy repeatedly, what the hell, he just keeps walking forward. So it's got to be about physically and mentally draining for the opponent. And Miller, when they did get in close and they got in clinches, he was using his physical strength to his advantage. And that in of itself is going to tire you out as well. And Browne's never had the best gas tank. So you could see the writing was on the wall. Even though we had a couple of good rounds early on, the writing was pretty much on the wall. What was going to happen with Lucas Browne, that he was going to end up getting taken out at some point. The fourth round, towards the end of that round, was a particularly bad round for Lucas Browne, where some of Miller's swings did start landing. But saying that, to his credit, like, Lucas Browne, was he hurt? Yeah, he was hurt. But he didn't, it wasn't like his legs were going a mere can, or he wasn't flat out on the ground or anything like that. He was falling back up against the ropes, and Miller was trying to tee off. But that was really it. That was the height of it. I thought that the referee was about to jump in towards the back end of the fourth round, but he didn't. I think the corner were actually up on the apron getting ready to stop the fight until the bell went. Fifth round, I think Miller needed to regain a bit of his stamina from the onslaught he gave him in the fourth round. So the fifth round went without any real incidents. Sixth round comes in. Miller does start to open up on Browne, and he puts him down. Lucas Browne, I don't even think he was necessarily concussed, concussive effect of the shots that put him down. I think it was a mixture of the pressure and just being fatigued. He went down, got back to his feet. Miller went in for the kill. Another onslaught of punches. Referee jumped in, stopped the fight. I think the corner threw in the towel as well at the same time. Lucas Browne, he cuts in every fight, to be fair, but he had a cut again over his right eye, I believe it was. So Miller marches on, slowly marches on. I was talking with Base the other night. We were talking, we were like, the one bit of footage I'd love to see, which is like boxing lost media, is his gloves are off with Anthony Joshua. Even now, 4 years later, I'd still love to see it. I'd watch it happily if Sky released it, but I can't see it. I don't know why they don't. Unless there was something in it they don't want people hearing. I don't know why they don't release that. Miller, we know what Miller is. We know I don't call him Big Baby, I call him Big Farmer for obvious reasons. We know what he is. We know that cloud is always going to be hanging over him. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was, if he was on the old good stuff again in this fight, because, just looking at that event, I'd imagine there was very little, if any, drug testing going on for that fight. Or that whole event, to be honest with you. Very little, if any. I don't even know how they would have made a profit on that show. It looked dead in there. So, Miller as a contender, he's not going to do that much, I don't think. He definitely doesn't look like he did pre-ban, in terms of he doesn't seem to have the same... Well, he has the work rate, but I guess that same energy about him that he had pre-ban, that doesn't seem to be there. But Miller is a guy who is loud, a very abrasive character. Would promoters, like Bob Arum was willing to take a risk with him, and obviously we saw how that went. But would a major promoter be willing to take a risk? Because it's a big risk signing this guy, because of the great clout that hangs over him, which is going to constantly hang over him. But would he, personally, I think, against some of the better heavyweights out there, they would be able to have a field day with him in terms of counter punch and moving around the ring. But he's so big, he's so relentless, he's so strong. It's his strength that takes you out more so than the punches. He's probably not, he definitely isn't the biggest puncher out there. In fact, I think the weight actually takes away from his punching power, truth be told, because he can only throw arm shots. He can't rotate his hips or get any real power into the shots. But it's just this physical strength, this presence in there that just, it drains these opponents. So him against guys in the top 15, I wouldn't put a penny on Miller beating them per se, but I'd be interested to see what happens, if you know what I mean. That's kind of how I saw this fight. So that's my 2 cents on it. Let me know if you caught it, if you watched it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm going to leave it there, lads and lassies. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. As always, thank you once again to the company for sponsoring today's video. We'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll get some more vids out there. For now, I'll leave you with that. Peace.